Welcome, goats, to another week of the Goat to Market Show. Your host, Raj Nation, here. And this week, we've got a special treat for you, pun intended on the word treat. You'll find out why in just a moment. If you've been following along with Startup Hype Man over the last few years, then you might know that I also run the Chicago chapter of Startup Grind. Startup Grind is the largest global entrepreneurship network with over 300 chapters around the world. The Chicago chapter has been in existence for over a decade, and I've been at the helm for the last 3 years. This week's episode is an audio playback of my interview from our event back in January, which was the 5th annual Great Chicago Food Bash. This was like a one-night mini food festival where we brought together the top rising local food and beverage startups in the Chicago ecosystem. That night also featured a fireside chat with Chef Alisha Elenz. In this conversation, which you're going to hear on the podcast today, we talked about Alisha's journey from starting out as just a prep cook to ultimately becoming head chef at one of the top restaurants in Chicago, and then going out on her own and starting her own business, Whisk the Night Away, a private chef for hire company. And this journey from prep cook to chefpreneur is informative, it's inspiring, and it's insightful. You're going to learn a lot from my conversation with Alisha. The audio quality isn't perfect in this one, so apologies in advance. We didn't have a direct audio line feeding into our recording system. It was literally an iPhone sitting on the table in front of us. Now, Chef Alisha is going to be doing an Ask Me Anything the whole first week that this episode is live. So if you have follow-up questions for her that you want to understand to better apply to your own journey, she's going to be joining our Ask Me Anything that's happening inside of Goat to Market Club, our online community. If you're not a member already, all you do is join at startuphypeman.com/GTM-club. startuphypeman.com/GTM-club. It's totally free to join. The whole first week this episode is live. Chef Alisha will be doing a Reddit-style Ask Me Anything. You write a comment as a post. She replies to your comment in the post. Super simple and a great way to connect with our guest. All right, now let's tune in to my conversation from the 5th annual Great Chicago Food Bash held at Startup Grind Chicago back on January 23rd, 2025 with Chef Alisha Elenz, from prep cook to chefpreneur and top chef contestant.
Thanks for being here. This is so cool.
Thank you for having me.
For those of you, we'll get into Alisha's story, but she's got a great story. A lot of us got to know who she is last year in her competing on Top Chef Season 21, alongside 2 other Chicago-based chefs as well. And when Chicago shows up on TV, the entire city pulls for you. Am I right?
That's so true. I was reminded of that for sure last year.
Generally, I find when Chicago things happen on TV, our city goes crazy.
Yeah.
Anyone who, for example, watches The Bear, you'll be like, oh, I know where that is. Oh, no, that's the wrong intersection.
That's so true.
Very Chicago thing.
Yeah.
So you've built a career in food. I'm just curious, what does food mean to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I think food has a lot of different meanings to me. I think the biggest one... Oh, sorry. Am I talking loud enough for everybody? Yeah. Okay, cool. I think community. I think food is a way to bring everybody together. I think it's really hard to be around a dinner table full of good food and your community and be in a bad mood. So I don't know. Yeah, I think to me it means community.
So speaking of not being in a bad mood with food, what's the best meal you've ever eaten?
Oh man, I hate this question. I'm gonna tell everybody right now, every chef hates this question. Sorry, it's so hard to even think because I've been to so many different places. I'm trying to think of somewhere I went recently. I don't know. That's the one question I can't answer. I'm so sorry.
All right, maybe as we get through the conversation, something will come to mind and you'll be like, oh, it's this thing.
It's that place. That actually might. No, it'll be when we leave here, and I'll be in the car ride home, and I'm like, I should have said that place. That happens every time.
Okay, so take us back to young Alisha as a child. Did you want to work in food? Did you want to be an astronaut? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I didn't know. Actually, this is interesting. Originally, I wanted to be a teacher. I did the early child development. I wanted to work with preschool students. And I started doing it, and I was like, if I do this, I'm never going to want kids nor ever want to be around them. So I just kind of like let it go. And I always experimented with food when I was little, but I didn't being a chef wasn't what it is now. Like, it wasn't, I don't know, just no one ever was like, yeah, you could do that as a job. So I had this clicking moment when I started working in kitchens, and I actually remember it to this day. I was at MFK, and I was like, wait, I could teach people how to cook. I could teach people about food. Like, I can still teach and not have to do education. So, yeah.
Okay. So your first sort of formal experience in the kitchen comes from your uncle's pizza joint, where you're working as a cashier, and then one day a prep cook calls in sick, and you got to go and start working in the kitchen. Was that a pick me, or was that they're like, hey, get your ass in the kitchen, we're down it's gonna end?
I kind of remember, I think it was a little bit of both. I think I was always excited to learn something new. So I do remember them being like, we need someone to do this. Who wants to do it? And I was like, I'll do it. It just sounded fun. And everybody else was like, no, thank you. So I should have known then that there was something, a little off up there, but yeah.
So what exactly did they have you doing that day? Do you remember?
It was just, it was a traditional, you just go in, they warm up the slices, cold salads, it was not, pizza slices, sorry. It was nothing, I wasn't cooking, I was just warming up pizza slices and making cold salads, and I loved it. I loved it. I was like, this is so fun.
Was this traditional pizza joint salad, 19 leaves of lettuce, giant tomato?
Yes.
One slice of carrot corn?
Yeah, yeah, exactly that.
Pound of ranch dressing?
Pound of ranch, yeah, more dressing than salad.
Yeah. Okay, so, from that experience, you start actually getting more seriously involved in the kitchen, and you have this journey into becoming a chef. Can you kind of walk us through how that happened? How you go from just warming up pizza slices into okay, maybe there's actually a career, or at least a real job here.
Yeah, I always say that those next 5 years went by so fast for me. So I just was working for my uncle because I moved to the city. I needed a job. And then I found this probably about 6 months, maybe a year into moving to the city. And it was a switch went off. I was like, I'm going to dedicate everything I have, all the time I have, to learning how to be the best cook I can be. I didn't even care about being a chef. I promise. I was never I'm going to be a chef. I just loved cooking, and I loved the restaurant industry. So, yeah, from there, I was like, I gotta get out of my uncle's restaurant. I'm glad I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I knew nothing really about the restaurant industry other than my uncle's restaurant. So I started staging.
Where?
Oh, perfect. This is funny.
What was your uncle's shop?
Pizza.
Oh, why didn't you say that?
I don't know. Because I feel if you're not from a specific part of the city, you don't know. But it is over on Loyola campus. But I'll say on Western, and people are I'm like, okay, never mind.
Then they're not from here.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Anyway.
But this is actually really funny, and this is inspiration to just keep going. My first stage was at LEQ. Anyone familiar? Bill Kim?
Oh, yeah.
It was a 14-hour stage. I got offered a job for $10 an hour. I walked out the front door. I instantly started crying. I hated it. I don't know why. It just wasn't my food. It wasn't the kind of food I wanted to do. I was completely overwhelmed. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm not. It was very male dominated too. I'll just say it, the elephant in the room. I think there was one woman working there, And they only offered me a job because I swear they said this, I won't say who said it, but they said, we need more women in here because you guys have soft hands so you can roll sushi. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be on the line with all the guys. I don't want to roll sushi. What are you talking? So I walked out of it crying because I just was like, maybe this isn't what I want to do. But I didn't give up, obviously. So.
Funny story. Belly Q is the one on Randolph, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually where my wife and I had our first date.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
She's over there. Give it up for my wife.
She's so sweet. Everybody should give her a big thank you for letting everybody in the door today.
She was the one working the door.
You're so patient.
Now, side conversations simmer down over there. You didn't go to culinary school, right? So that's a pretty interesting decision because, like you said, you didn't understand the restaurant industry, you didn't really know anyone. What was the decision to be like, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to get the quote-unquote education for it?
Is everyone familiar with Joe Flam, Rosemary? Yeah. It was him. It was at Belly Q. He was an executive sous chef. So this was 12 years ago. This was before Top Chef and all that. And he asked me if I was trying to go to culinary school, and I said, yeah, I'm looking into it. And he's like, don't do it. And I was like, what? It's a waste of money. And he had gone to culinary school. So I was like, okay. And he's like, just do a couple years. If you want to go back to culinary school, you can, but you don't have to. Just work. He's like, but you are going to have to work really hard. So someone really early on told me that the work you do inside of the kitchen is just as important as what you do outside the kitchen. So I was working like 2 jobs, and then I would get home, and this is so cheesy, but this is how I learned. I would make like note cards. What is sauteing? What is braising? What is steaming? What is a julienne knife cut? And I just studied and studied and studied.
That's awesome. I love when people like nerd out on things like that. Like,
yeah.
That's when I first started practicing yoga, I literally had this running Google Doc just titled Yoga Notes, where like things I was hearing in class would be like, this is Warrior 2 in Sanskrit. This is where your foot should go in this pose, that kind of thing. And now I teach it. So
but it's something that you were actually interested in, and that's why you want to learn it. So people always say, like, how do you do what you do? I love it. Trust me, I would not still be doing it if I did not. But I think, if you genuinely are passionate about something and want to do it, it makes it that much easier.
Yeah. So, your journey takes you kind of around the city, right? Bop and Grill in Rogers Park, a little bit east on Randolph, Maud's Liquor Bar in the West Loop.
That was a good one.
The Waldorf Astoria Hotel.
Yeah.
Right, so you've really been around, and then you go to MFK, right? Do I have that order of operations correct?
Yeah, you're actually exactly right.
MFK, you end up being executive chef there. But what did you start as when you were there?
A part-time prep cook.
Wow. Part-time prep cook.
Yeah.
And you just put your head down and work your way up?
Yeah, so I actually I was miserable at the Waldorf. I hated the hotel environment. No slight to the hotel, it just wasn't for me. I always say there's restaurant people and then there's hotel restaurant people. 2 different brains. So I just, being a 20-year-old, quit my job and had no plan. And I just walked in. I just had a friend that I worked with there, and he was like, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Waldorf, but it is a huge hotel. We're talking 4 walk-ins, freezers, 401k. And I walked into MFK, which was a 28-seat restaurant, no walk-in, no freezer, $10 an hour. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Again, crazy. But I felt something when I walked in there, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to make a lot of money, but I feel like there's something really special about this place.
So you do work your way up. You become executive chef there. I think by 23 years old. Round of applause for that.
Yeah, okay.
23 and a half, 24.
No, it was like, I think it was like 2 weeks before my 24th birthday.
Okay, so still, hey.
I was like, you don't have to say that,
what do they say now? Rising 24 or something like that? Right?
Yeah.
That's what I learned in high school. You don't say you're going into your senior year. You say you're a rising senior.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just called it a junior, when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So anyways, lot of responsibility, pretty young age. A lot of other people are just like maybe graduating college and then like they're in their first 1 or 2 jobs, first 1 or 2 years in the workforce at that age. How'd you balance like having such responsibility with just like also the desire to just be like young and like kind of not give a F and like want to like enjoy yourself on nights and weekends?
Okay, so I wasn't a normal 20-year-old. I didn't really want to party. I kind of like, this is going to sound so lame, but I kind of did that in high school. I kind of got into like some trouble, a lot of trouble if you ask my mother. And then it was just kind of like a make or break when I turned 18. It was like, am I going to keep going down this route or am I going to go down this route? And so, I didn't really have the desire to party. I'm not going to lie, there were moments where I'd see like my friends like in Vegas in a pool, like at some concert. I'm like, that looks cool. But I don't know, I just always felt like I know the path that I'm on and I'd rather be doing this. And then if I want to party later in life when I get older, I don't know. I just always thought I want to work as hard as I possibly can for the first half of my life so that I can chill hopefully for the last half of my life, which I say that, but I probably won't because I can't go a day without working,
So at age 70, you'll just be throwing razors.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I never felt like I really missed out. I do feel like I had to grow up a little bit quicker. A lot of the people I managed were older than me, but it was very humbling because I couldn't walk in and be like, oh, I know everything, you have to listen to me. I had to be honest if I didn't know how to do something.
So let's talk about that part a little bit more. Maybe something others can relate to, but you actually are the superior to other people who are older than you. Can you just share a little bit more about what that was like? Was there like a having to like prove yourself, gain respect, or like how did you end up getting people to listen to you being significantly younger than many of your coworkers who are your direct reports?
I think I learned really early on, and honestly, I learned it more from other people, that the louder you yell, the less people listen. Especially at my age. Could you imagine, okay, I don't know if you all watch me walk over here, but I'm like 5'2" on a good day. Could you imagine being like in your 30s and a 23-year-old like, no, I'm not going to swear in the microphone, but you guys have watched the shows. So I just was like, I'd already worked there for like 2.5 years. I knew that restaurant like the back of my hand, and I was so confident in what I was doing, and the owners, my bosses, were like, we put you in this position for a reason. And so I remember having the same conversation with people that I managed underneath me, like my sous chefs. If people were disrespecting them, I would come in and be like, I put you in this position for a reason. Be confident in that. And so that's just kind of how I carried myself. I mean, trust me, I've had a lot of people push back and not want to listen. But then there's the door, Like, if you don't want to get on board with what we're doing here, then that's your choice. But, like, we're doing something really great here.
One of the things MFK was known for was a constantly changing menu. I think, was it every day it was a different menu?
Because of the no walk-in thing. So we would do menu reprints at least 3 times a week.
Giving strong the bear vibes.
Not my choice, I promise.
In the startup world, which a lot of the people who are here tonight are part of that world, things are rapidly changing. You think your product's going one direction, and then one day you have to shift in a different direction. How were you, in this environment you're in, where 3 times a week the menu's changing, maybe there's some turnover as well. You've got someone who started on Monday who isn't showing up on Friday. How were you able to ground yourself amidst kind of a tornado happening around you?
Now or then?
Let's say then and then also now.
They do it very different now. I really do think it was keeping my hat. To be honest with you, it took me about I think about 6 months after I became the executive chef where I had a moment where I stopped and looked around and I was like, oh wait, I'm in charge of this. It never really clicked for me. I just never had the time to stop to really think about it. I just kept going. So even with my business now, there's a lot of pivoting. There's a lot of oh, well, that didn't work. I just move on from it. I don't sit there and dwell. I am an overthinker, so I'll give myself a time limit, and then I'm okay, tomorrow's a new day. We learn, we move on, and we fix. But it does get exhausting, because you're and I'm sure this has happened to some people, but you start with an original idea, and then by the end of it, you're that's not what I was thinking at all. But it also can end up being a beautiful thing,
Yeah. After MFK, I believe through COVID, it didn't make it out of COVID, right?
It is now, but they did take a break for
okay.
I think 6 months.
Okay, so from there it was to Bambola?
No. That's the last restaurant I worked at. It actually, from there, this is really interesting. I got laid off of MFK, and this is, again, I keep making myself sound like a crazy person, but I was so used to working 80, 90 hours a week, and I was 27. So I was I don't want to lose this momentum. I was also at the height of my career, depending on who you ask. So I was I can't not work. I don't know how to not work. So I got on this app called Thumbtack, and that's how I started doing the private chef stuff. No intention of doing that as a career. I was I'm going back to restaurants the day that I can. I thought I was going to die in a restaurant. And I loved it. So I actually have been doing this private chefing pretty much since 2020, but I didn't start doing it full-time, my full-time gig, until last year, at the beginning of the year. So I always had a full-time job. So I went from MFK to Goddess and the Grocer, anyone familiar? And I just did consulting, work with them, but full-time. And then from there I did Cherry Circle Room.
Yep.
Classic. It's a little hidden gem. And then I went to Bambola. And I think I was searching for mentorship. I was searching for the same thing that I kind of had at MFK, and I just never really found it. And I was you know what? I love doing the private chefing. Why do I need to work in a restaurant? I really think we get in our own way in life because we think we need to do what other people think we should do, which if you follow my career, have pretty much done the opposite my whole life. I will say the first 18 years of my life, again, if you talk to my mom, I was not the easiest kid, but yeah, I just think people get in their own way. Why did I tell myself I had to stay at a restaurant? I didn't. I could, still do what I love to do in my own way.
Yeah, it's almost we only think the options that are available are what's been shown to us versus looking deeper.
That was worded so much better. That is exactly
what AI edit your response.
More good stuff from my interview right around the corner. But first, I want to make sure you're aware of this exciting opportunity. Now tell me if this sounds familiar. Yacht parties, fast cars, fine dining. No, not familiar? Well, everyone else thinks that's startup life. But founders, we know it's more like late nights, public transit, and ramen noodles. See, building a disruptive product is grossly underestimated, and it requires this rare combo of skill and experience. But you never know what you're going to get with an offshore team. That moonlighter who said they're good for it is now ghosting. And accelerators will teach, but they won't build for you. And it feels like everyone who can help wants money or equity or both. And any wrong decision just puts the launch at risk. But not anymore. Now you can lift off with Code Launch. If you didn't know, Code Launch is the only equity-free accelerator, pitch competition, and exposure platform, all wrapped into one venturetainment spectacle. Selected startups get free software development from top-tier teams, pitch and demo their product live on stage to hundreds of stakeholders, and compete to secure an investment of at least $50K on the spot. And all of this is provided at no charge. That's right, no charge. When you make moves with Code Launch, you're closer to turning those not invites today into yacht invites tomorrow. So if you want to join the likes of Materia Bioworks, Endora, Car Recorder, and more who have all lifted off with the help of Code Launch, well, then you need to apply to Code Launch. So here's the thing. You can go to codelaunch.com directly, but if you want to have your application fast-tracked during the review process, if you want to jump ahead in line with your application to see if you get in, then you want to follow the special link that's in this episode description. And that link is available just for listeners of this show and fans and friends of Startup Hype Man. So head to the link in this episode description. You fill that out by the application deadline, and you're going to get your application jumped ahead in line ahead of everyone else. We code, you launch, apply today. Back now to the interview.
So if we kind of follow the trajectory, it starts off as cashier, then you become prep cook, then sous chef, then executive chef, chef de cuisine, to chefpreneur.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit of, diagonal in there.
Yeah.
But more or less that's the curve of the graph. Whisk the Night Away is the company you've been running now full-time for the last year-ish, as you mentioned. Tell us a little bit more about what Whisk the Night Away is all about, and what do you bring quite literally to the table?
No, that's part of my slogan. Our slogan is "We bring the restaurant to you," which obviously was adopted during the pandemic. And yeah, I mean, we really do. We bring the plates, the silver. We really try to create this restaurant experience in your home. And if any of you have ever tried to host a party, it's quite literally the worst. I hate hosting parties. I know I do it for a living, but I hate doing it for my friends and family because I just feel like I never really get to actually enjoy people's company. So that's kind of how we adopted it. It was during COVID. How can we, a lot of people had to cancel trips and different things. So we kind of came in and created this special experience. And then now after the pandemic, it's been how can you, especially with the weather and parking and I don't know, sometimes people just want to literally have a fancy dinner in their pajamas at their house.
Yeah. So you've actually done people are wearing their pajamas when it's a nice dinner?
Yes, so many times. Or they're we're just going to wear pajamas. I'm it's your house. You can do whatever you want.
So are you cooking in their home? Or are you cooking in your kitchen, bringing it there?
A little bit of both. We do prepare as much as we can ahead of time, and then we do the cooking there in front of people if they'd like to watch.
So pajama party is one. Are there any other off-the-wall things, or just a really cool or unique event that you've done before?
Honestly, they're all so different. We do the private dinners, but we also do corporate stuff. We do, we have one potentially coming up. I can't give too much away, but it's a movie set or a film set. So they want to do a themed menu with that film. We do fun stuff like that. And I do think that is, I always present it to people, we don't do fixed menus. I want to talk to you, I want to get to know you, 5-10 minute conversation. I'll build menus based on what you tell me you like and don't like. So it's very curated for that person. Instead of here's 6 menus, pick which one you want.
Is anyone else here starting to think through, when do I have a special occasion coming up? In running your own company, so let's say this, right? When you are a chef at a restaurant, you're kind of you're doing the work, right? You're cooking the food, you're preparing the food. Now, I'm just going to keep using the phrase chefpreneur, right? You're running your own company now. So now there's things like marketing, right? Accounting, P&L, right? So can you kind of explain the mindset difference it's taken to do this as running the whole thing versus being responsible for just the execution of the product?
Yeah, I will say when you get to an executive level, depending on where you work and what your role is, you should understand how to run a business. I think a lot of chefs don't understand that, and it's you can make good food, but are you making money? And I'm sure every person in here who has you probably come up with a product where you're this is really good, but is it going to sell? And so it's I think, and I'll say it myself, we chefs have a lot of ego. Okay, we do, and we put a lot of work into what we do, and when we do that and people don't like it, we get frustrated. So, yeah, I don't know.
Has it, now being like a business owner, and even like at MFK when you were executive chef, you said you had some of these responsibilities, but now that it's really all, pun intended, all on your plate.
That was good.
I got plenty more.
Okay.
Has it changed your relationship with food at all?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, yeah. But that comes and goes, I think. I hope I'm not the only person who feels that way. I think sometimes the passion comes and sometimes it goes, and I think you just have to remind yourself, like, why you fell in love with food in the first place. I will say, marketing. That is something I never had to deal with in the restaurant. It is so hard. Okay, I don't know if anyone else has had these issues, but we're in the process of launching a sauce line. We kind of already launched it, but we haven't hard launched it. Just the labels alone, like just making labels and like figuring out how. It's so right, yeah.
Yeah, my marketing team does good work.
Okay, so I don't have one of those, so we should do. No, I need to get one. I definitely have that chef mentality of like, oh, gonna do it all, mom and pop, and it's like there's only 24 hours in a day. But that's a good tip right there. Get a marketing team. But yeah, no, the Instagram, social media, just like constantly getting your name out there, that is really hard. But it is like it's 90% of the work, honestly.
So like on a casual day you have to yourself, what do you cook for yourself?
Another question, Chef.
I'm crushing this interview.
Yeah, you are. Honestly, I don't like to eat big meals. I have a very hard time eating when I'm stressed or anxious, which in my job that happens often. So I've kind of trained myself to eat like a little bunny rabbit. That's what people used to say to me in the kitchen, because I'd have like little snacks everywhere, like half eaten. But like, yeah, like I'll drink a yogurt and then I'll eat like hummus. It's so boring. I'm so sorry. I think the thing is, and a lot of chefs will say that, it's like I don't know, when you're doing it so much for other people, like the last thing you want to do is come home and do it for yourself. But I wish I could tell you like carbonara or Wellington. Yeah, I don't do that.
Well, I guess on that note, like, do you just have like a guilty pleasure takeout food where you're like Wendy's all day?
Red Hot Ranch, everybody. Thank you. I don't do it often. I also am not too far from Superdog. That's another good one. But I love Red Hot Ranch. I love the claps too. Thank you.
Coming back to Whisk the Night Away, there's the day-to-day operations and everything, but what would you say is like the larger vision you have for this company and for the people that you serve?
Okay. That's an interesting one too. I feel like I approach.
I love how you're assessing each question as it gets in. You're like, that's a 6 on the scale. This one's a 10.
That's a really good question. Yeah, I want to give you an honest answer. And this is such an unpopular thing to say. It's like I have a big vision for my business. I want a storefront. I want to branch out. I want to be doing stuff not just in Chicago. Event planning in general is where I find my passion. But I will say, I will set long-term goals for myself, and then they'll be written down somewhere, but I try not to focus on them, but that's just the way I work. I don't know how other people work, but I get really impatient with myself if I'm like, oh, you said you were going to do this by February and you didn't do it. So I try to be a little bit looser about my long-term goals and really focus on the short term to get me to the long term. I don't know if that made sense. I don't know if anyone else here has horrible imposter syndrome or is just really hard on themselves. Okay, cool.
Everyone.
So that's how I say I don't know, especially when you're starting a business, it's you'll look and you'll be like, oh, I'm not doing this enough, I'm not doing that. But if you look back to when you first started, you're like, whoa, actually, I need to chill because I've done a lot of work.
Well, you got from A to Z, you got to have B, C, D, E, F. Also, it's the micro steps in between that you're focused on.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's talk. Can't let you get away without talking about Top Chef.
my favorite? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I don't mind talking about Top Chef at all.
So, the country got to know you through the show last year, Top Chef Season 21 in Wisconsin. You didn't have to travel very far for it, so that was nice. I don't want to just generally ask, like, what was it like, but let me start with this. When you go onto a cooking show with the top 1% of people in your field in the entire country, are you at all concerned about, well, what if I lose?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Literally after, so you find out a month to the day before you leave. And it's like, once you get that far, you're not going to say no. But when they called me to tell me, I was like, I literally was like, because I didn't think they were going to pick me. Like, I was like, no way. There's so many, and it's a whole process. There's people who apply many seasons, don't get picked, and then get picked later. So they're not going to pick me. And then I was like, how do I get out of this? Like, it is, it's very, the imposter syndrome comes out hard.
You were eliminated, I think, in like the third episode, maybe?
The fourth episode, don't do
Fourth.
that.
Sorry, fourth episode. On an aguachile dish, if I recall.
Yeah.
Why do people on Top Chef love cooking aguachile?
Okay, first of all, don't cook it. Second of all...
Making aguachile.
This is going to sound so bad. It's one of my specialty dishes. It's one of the first dishes I ever put on the menu at MFK. So... that makes it worse. But then, like, the whole season, I did watch it. Everybody was doing aguachile. I don't know. Probably because it's simple. I think, and it's not that you want to do simple stuff, but you only have a certain amount of time. And everybody, like, especially in the first couple episodes, you really want to, like, showcase your food and what you do. But, like, they don't care about that. They just want good food. Like, they're not, like, oh, Alisha does Spanish food. She should do. Like, it's not. But you just don't think like that when you're there. Oh, aguachile.
What's that like, having like your work put under the microscope and broadcast for everyone? It's very rare to, like, I'd say in being a chef, it's one of the few professions where you just generally get instant feedback on your work because someone's eating it and then reacting. Yeah. Right? No one in accounting is like, oh man, like I miskeyed this Excel thing and everyone found out the second I did, right? You get instant feedback, good or bad. Now this is like amplifying that because you're getting not just that feedback, but it's like, esteemed judges and chefs who are grading your work. So what's that like to, like, be under the microscope? Quite literally, there are camera lights on you and all that.
That part is actually really scary. Obviously, right? I don't know why I thought going into it wouldn't be. I think it's because I had watched some of the show. So I was like, oh, I filmed other stuff. I was like, it'll be fine. And then when you're actually walking out there, you're like, and then, you're next to all of the people you're competing against. So it's like there is this weird, like, competitiveness. Like, you're like, I want the other chefs to, like, be impressed by me too. And it's like, why? They're not the judges. Like, it's so, that really is the hardest part. And I didn't realize that. It's like, and not to crap on other competition shows, but I was like, oh, it'll be fun, but it is your life's work. Like, it is, I have put so much work into, like, what I do, and, like, it is, and it's hard for people to just, like, tear you apart, and they tell you not to go on Reddit, but we all did, and so, it's hard to just, like, read comments about yourself, and you're like, but then, I don't know, like, the first couple months, it sucks, but then you're like, I'm not going to stop being me, or doing what I do. There's always going to be someone out there who doesn't get it, doesn't like me. I also love that you said that you got to know me on the show. I feel like I did not get a lot of airtime at all, but you remember the aguachile, so that's cool.
Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to have one of your fellow contestants on my podcast, Chef Sue, who is the executive chef at Adelina. I asked him this, and I want to ask you this as well. Did you absolutely hate having to talk about what you're doing for the sake of TV while you're doing it? You only have like 20 minutes anyways to do it?
Okay, so this is something people don't know that I'm allowed to talk about. When you're watching these shows and people are like, I'm making this, we're not saying that by choice. There's a producer there every two. What are you making? Ask Dan what he's making. What herb is that? Literally, I would say about half the time we're all like, F off. Like, and then, but they keep coming back. So like, yeah, we're not like trying to have just a dandy old conversation in the kitchen. Like if it was none of us would talk to each other. But yeah, and there's a camera right in your face. And if you like do something and they're like right there, you're like, don't cut that. But, like, it's just, you get used to it, but it is annoying. I'm not gonna lie.
How has being on the show impacted your business, your work overall over the last year-ish?
I thought when I got home that I was like, oh my God, I just ruined my business. Like everyone's gonna watch me on TV and be like, definitely not booking her. She can't even make aguachile. But it was like, it boomed. Like all of a sudden everybody had, and I think it's what you said too. It's like there's so much love in Chicago and just in the Midwest in general that like, I'll still have random people come up to me on the street and be like, we loved you, you were great. And it's like, I got eliminated on the 4th episode, thank you. Like, I don't know if that exists in any other city, but like, that's why I love Chicago, we just, I don't know, we have a lot of pride, and I don't, some people might say too much, but I love this city, so.
I've got one more question. Before I get to my last question, I want to open it up to the audience. And we can do 2 audience questions. Anyone out here have a question they would like to ask? Yes.
I also hate when people ask what my favorite meal is, and I'm not a chef, so what I want to know is, what is the last thing that you ate today?
What is the last thing that you ate today, is the question.
Well, my boyfriend is a chef too, so he made us breakfast. So I had toast with scrambled eggs and bacon and caramelized onion. I think that was it. He didn't tell me. I'm guessing based on what I remember right now. But yeah.
I feel like that's an easier question than what's your favorite thing.
That is. Thank you.
Taking my job. that ranked a 10 on her scale of questions asked. Go ahead over here.
Please tell me the difference between mayonnaise and aioli.
What is the difference between mayonnaise and aioli?
You don't want to know that. Preservatives. Mayonnaise has a lot of preservatives, whereas the aioli is just it's raw eggs. I mean, they're both raw eggs, but mayonnaise there's a reason why it looks like that. Don't eat it. It's not for you.
I'm a food scientist. I was just curious about your opinion.
Okay.
That's good.
What's your opinion?
It's probably not great.
Are you anti-mayo?
I'm anti-mayo standard of identity. Like, you should be able
What
to call
on earth? I'm anti-mayo
I
standard
do
of
what you're
identity.
saying. Okay.
So if
Interesting.
you want to make, you have to have egg yolks. If you want to make mayo, it
Yeah.
has to have egg yolk. So you can't make mayo and just put turmeric in it instead of egg yolk. Anyways, I'm just curious on your take.
Interesting. Okay.
I think we do one more. Yeah.
Do you advise other entrepreneurs to take the plunge and try to get on some of these national shows to get our business moving in the right direction?
The question is, would you advise other entrepreneurs to take the plunge and try and get on competition shows?
Yeah.
100%. I'll say, I always say yes to opportunities. Like, I try to network, and I just also love being a part of the community in Chicago, but like, I will say, yes, be prepared. It's not, I feel like you're good, you got a very like shining, fun personality.
You would do very well.
Yeah, it is a lot of, here's what I'll say. People always ask me if I would do Top Chef again. I would, because of everything that came from it. But I will say it did take me about 2 to 3 months when I got back to like fully adjust back into life. So it was a sacrifice, but a lot of really good things came out of it. And it's great for your business. So, yeah, of course.
All right, my final question. So, assuming we were able to capture the audio well enough through that phone sitting on the table there, we're going to import this into my podcast feed, and it'll become an audio episode that will live forever. Startup Hype Man's Goat to Market show, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Subscribe now. So the final question I always ask on that show, which I will ask you now, is fill in the blank. Entrepreneurship is blank.
Oh. One word?
Or a short phrase.
Okay. I gave the overthinker the wrong question. I want to say an entrepreneur is not for everyone, but it is rewarding for the people that it is for. Does that make sense? Like, you gotta have the brain for it. You gotta have the drive, and it's such an rewarding, beautiful thing. But it takes a lot. And anyone who's like, I feel like I'm not doing a great job, you're fine. You're fine. Trust me. You're doing more than even especially like walking around today. I do want to say like everyone's marketing and like this like little so good, way better than mine. Let me just say. I was literally telling Lauren in the back that the whole time, like, grab that brochure, I need good inspiration. So, yeah.
All right, just like we brought her onto the stage, I want everybody to stand up one more time and give a huge round of applause and thank you to Chef Alisha Elenz.
That'll put a bow on this one. Before we head out of here, a couple quick housekeeping items. Number one, did you like what you heard? Well, give us a subscribe and a follow. Maybe share it with one friend who you think would find this valuable. Number two, remember that Ask Me Anything I told you about at the end of the episode? That goes down exclusively inside of Goat to Market Club, our online founder and startup community, and you can access it for free. Membership is 100% free at startuphypeman.com/GTM-club. Number three, need pitch help? Startup Hype Man is your man. Whether it's a fundraising narrative or a go-to-market or category narrative, we've got you covered to make sure you have messaging that doesn't help you just go to market, but of course what? Helps you become the GOAT to market. All right, we will see you next week here on the GOAT to Market show. Thank you for listening. And remember, why be a unicorn when you can be the GOAT?